Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to continue on with our Market Garden project update. Alright, there hasn't been an update in a little while. I've been busy painting and putting things together. And we actually had a game. We played a game Thursday night. We play tested the 82nd scenario. But we're keeping it on the down low, so you don't get to see that, unfortunately. And then that's also what's going to happen tomorrow night, which is going to be the British scenario. We're going to play test that one as well. And then there will not be a video or a game the following Thursday, because that's going to be the last minute crunch to the convention, because the convention is the 24th. Right? What is the 24th? That's only 9 days. 9 days. A week from this Saturday. So we're going to be going down to Nashville. If you want to play with us at NashCon, go ahead and register. Come on down. Find our table and sign up. Right? We can take a number of players. We're planning on handling up to 12 players. So we're going to put 2 players per table per side. So with 3 tables, that's 6 players per side, so up to 12 players. If we only get 6 players, that'd be fine as well. Only 1 player per side per table, that's fine. If we double up on a couple of tables or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're just gonna have fun. We're just going to have fun. We're not going to play with all the rules either. We're going to kind of streamline it a little bit. We're going to focus mainly on the infantry part of it, the small arms and the machine guns, but we are going to have some armored vehicles, but we're not going to. That's not going to dominate the tables, and it's not going to weigh the games out too much. Maybe on the Arnhem table, we're going to have to play test that tomorrow. Okay, so I've been doing a little bit of painting and building. I finished, you can't see. Okay, there's a fountain. I went ahead and finished it, painted it, put the water effects on it. Looks really good. I think I might be short a couple of buildings. I mean, I put a bunch of buildings together. But what I need to do now is maybe set all 3 tables up simultaneously. I know that sounds weird, right? But only the parts of the table, because there's only 2 buildings needed for the 82nd battle. No problem. I'll just pull 2 buildings, put them off to the side. And then there's a number of buildings in the Arnhem battle and a number of buildings in the 101st battle. So I need to take the remaining buildings that I have and maybe split them in half and put them on the 2 tables. We'll figure it out. But I'm in the process of painting some armor vehicles, and I kind of want to just show you these vehicles. I want to bring them up and let you kind of take a look at them. I'm going to adjust my focus because I'm going to hold them up close. Okay, so we got the Hanomag, the 251-1 in kind of a ambush camouflage pattern. I haven't finished the interior yet. That's what I'm working on next. And I basically have 2 of them that I used my stencil technique. So if you go and watch that video, you'd see what I mean by that. Yeah, I got a stencil technique that I use for doing ambush camouflage patterns. Now I got a 250 actually. I got a 250 sitting right here. The gentleman on the inside is not fully painted. I've only started painting him, but these are going to be used in tomorrow's playtest, but they'll be played like this. They're not going to be finished, but I'll be able to finish them in the next week, and that's one reason why we're not playing next Thursday, is because that'll give me that extra night to finalize whatever I need to finalize, army lists, charts that I'm going to hand out to players, terrain, whatever I need to do. That Thursday and Friday I should be able to finalize what I need to do. I also have this bad boy. I've got this Stug All right, Stug 3G with Schertzen or whatever. He's going to be in use as well. There's a couple of Jeeps here. These are British Para Jeeps, and as you can see, they're not fully finished at all. They're basically just base coated. I still need to go in and like do berets and uniforms and stuff, and then wood containers and all the little supply cabinets and stuff. I got to do all that. And I've got two of them. One has helmeted driver and gunner with a beret in the back. And then one has two berets in the front and a helmet in the back. You know, and I'm not going to do the trailers that came with them. That's going to be an afterthought. I'm not going to do those. I did get my partisans in, but I'm not going to. It's a toss-up. I don't think I'm going to do the partisans for the convention. I haven't really figured out a good place to put them to make it kind of enjoyable or fun, so I'm just going to drop them. They were never in any of the scenarios, but it is in the Market Garden book, so when we actually do our Market Garden campaign, partisans are going to be an option for the players if I want them to have them. Okay. We're not doing any air. We're not doing any artillery minus mortars. Oh yeah, with some of these vehicles came the damage markers. You know, the little puffs of smoke and flames and stuff. I went ahead and put all those together so that there's really only 5 German vehicles that can be destroyed that have armor. The Americans have a Jeep and the British have 2 Jeeps. Yeah. So I don't know how, I mean, I've got like 4 vehicles with damage markers and each one comes with like 3 markers. So there should be no problem putting markers up. Should be no problem. I got one template, but I really don't need it. There's not a whole lot of templated mortars or the one of the guns, I think the Stug has a 2-inch blast. That's okay. All I need is a 2-inch base, which I've got a lot of those from D&D. So we'll I'm just going to paint. Actually, I've got one that's all painted up with like explosions. We're going to use that one. I'm going to use a Crown Royal bag for the 82nd table. I thought about ordering an 82nd bag, but then I figured I wasn't going to. I didn't order the first pair for the British. That was actually a gift. I was planning on just getting my own bag, the 101st. Didn't need 2 other bags, but each table needs its own way of drawing. And since Mike got me the 101st bag, or the first para bag, I'll just need a 3rd bag, and I've already got a Crown Royal bag. That's what I'm going to use. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to like supplement my tree collection, my forest collection, with trees that I used for other games. They might be smaller pine trees, or they might be little deciduous trees. They're not all going to be the giant 7-inch trees. So there's going to be a lot of mixture of trees. The 82nd battle went really well. I just want to put this out. There was 4 of us playing. I actually played. There was 4 of us playing. I was part of the 182nd. I was part of the 82nd. And the 82nd did win, but the game went a little slower than what the players anticipated it moving at. It was an 8-turn game. We played 6 turns and in 4 hours, because we timed it to make sure that we could fit it into the convention time frame. There was probably, and this is something that the players mentioned, there was probably too much infantry on the table, because it was a lot of moving. You know, you move these individual men and you got to roll for all their shots, which made it more. But I'm thinking that if I pull maybe the flamethrower, or maybe a sniper, or maybe a mortar, just pull those off the table, there would be a lot fewer dice in the bag, which means turns would go faster, because really it's a per turn per draw. I get the fact that there was too much infantry, but that's kind of what I want. I kind of want it to be only infantry and not a lot of these specialty troops, because I want it to be straightforward and easy peasy. No like special rules, no, like what happens if I do this? What happens? I don't want that. I don't want, even though, guess what? Okay, we're going to have quite a few referees come down. It sounds like Mason and Jerry are going to go with me. Mike, I haven't talked to him in a couple of days. I'm going to probably text him tomorrow. See if he's still able. Well, he's off on Saturday, so I don't think there's going to be any problem. We're not getting a hotel or anything. All he's got to do is drive down with us. So I think, so there's going to be Mike, there's going to be Jerry, there's going to be Mason. James is not going to be able to attend. So there's going to be at least those four of us. And then there's also Adam, who went to work for a company. It was a job he couldn't pass up. But he went all the way down to the Gulf Coast. He's been down there almost a year now. And he was at the convention last year. And he's really excited about going again this year. I don't know if he's going to attend, but if he does, he's going to be there to help us. Man, I can't wait. I hope he's there, because I haven't seen him in almost a year. Yeah, so the Army lists aren't exactly worked out yet. We've play tested a few of them. I got a kind of a feel of how they're going to run, except for the Arnhem game, which we're playing tomorrow. And that's going to really help me design these scenarios. Yeah, okay, something I wanted to point out. On these tanks, right? Okay, the Puma came out really well, and you can see that in a video. I did a video on how to paint the Puma. I've even got some little pine boughs that I think I'm going to put as camouflage on a lot of these different tanks and armored cars. I still want to do that. And that's going to be exciting. I'm probably going to put that on, I don't know, I'm going to put it on video or not, but something I noticed about this green, right? I said, okay, let me paint it mustard. Okay, that's the mustard, right? And then I said, okay, we're going to use just brown spray paint for the brown. It didn't have to be, it's not any other, it's called brown, right? And I said, okay, that's perfect. That's just like freaking splinter blotches, right? I was like, okay, that's good. And then I said, green, let's try this green. I tried a green on the Puma because I wanted it to be a dark, rich green. Well, it is. It's like hunter green, or no, it's not hunter green. It's Hunt Club, right? It was Hunt Club. And I was like, Hunt Club's pretty dang dark. After I finished that Puma, I was like, that's probably just a little bit too dark. Hang on. Okay, this is the Puma, right? And this is the Stug. Whoa, okay. You see how dark that is? That's like a dark ass green. So I wanted something a little bit lighter, right? And you can see that this green is a lot lighter. And so what I did was, okay, no problem. The antenna just busted off. I knew it was. It was just hanging on by a thread. So I think what I'm going to do is pin vise a hole and put a little piece of metal in there. I'm going to put like a little wire coming out of it and actually be like a wire antenna. It'll be a lot better. It'll look a lot better too, because I'll have it like curved. Okay, but this one, this green, I said, okay, let me try this green. So I thought about it, and I said, I went through all my greens, which I've got about a dozen different greens over there. I said, is OD good? No. Is oregano good? No. Is that Hunt Club good? No. Is the moss good? No, the moss is way too bright. And I said, okay, what about the green camouflage that comes out of the, there's this green, I see like this little thing. There's this green camouflage that's for like hunters. And I was like, no, that's too weird. And then there's a bunch of different greens over there. And I was like, no, none of these really work. But this one over here, this Italian olive, I said, okay, that's the green that I was spraying for my 101st paratroopers the late war uniform, right? And I said, let's give it a shot, right? And that's what this is. That's what this is, right? This is the late war American paratrooper uniform. But then, okay, here's the kicker, and I'm gonna have to put this in a separate video. I started painting the guy that's inside this vehicle, right? And the guy inside this vehicle, I'm painting with Warlord Games German Army Field Gray. Okay, cool. Painting his jacket and his pants field gray. And then I'm kind of looking and I'm noticing that green is the same green, almost exactly the same green as the spray. It's identical. It's the same. So you know what? I just found a freaking spray field gray. It's called Italian Olive. From, I think that's Krylon over there. Okay, so my next, if I ever paint any German Blitzkrieg guys again, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so you saw that. You saw the tank, you saw the armor, you saw the paratroopers. I also have a buttload of paratroopers for the British still in the box, right? I was thinking about putting some more of those together to flesh out some of these squads. I'm not going to have time. I don't think I'm going to have time. I'm going to finish these guys up after the game we play tomorrow, and then I'm not going to build anything else. I don't want to build or put together anything. I want to just make sure everything is in order, get my army lists together, to get the scenario lists together. I want to have like a cheat sheet for each side of each battle, so that when they sit down at the table, I can hand them this cheat sheet, basically their orders, and it'll tell them what their objectives are, where their troops are coming in, and also maybe on the flip side, basic bolt action rules. And I'm going to try to keep these games low difficulty, right? So that any new player that wants to sit down and play can pick up the game in like 5 minutes. That's what I want. I don't want to have all these complicated rules, and which bolt action doesn't have in the first place. Bolt action is a pretty streamlined game, but the book is like this thick. But it's all flavor. It's fluff. It's pictures. It's explanations. That's what most of that book is. If you took a bunch of the rules out, which is, I'm taking all the air rules out, all the artillery rules, I'm taking all the, I don't know what I'm taking out of it, but I don't think we're going to have flamethrowers, so we're not going to need those rules. I'm going to take all the, I don't know what I'm taking out. But basically, we're just going to have guns, machine guns, submachine guns, medium machine guns, tanks and half-tracks, transports, jeeps, and that's it. Bazookas, nothing too crazy. We're going to have buildings, we're going to have trees, we're going to have hedges, we're going to have walls, we're going to have fields, bridges. That's pretty much it. I am putting some barbed wire around the table, but they'll never encounter them. And then I'm not putting any minefields. I'm not putting any anti-tank traps or anything like that, because this is all dropped behind enemy lines. It's not, and I don't anticipate needing any of that stuff. All right, so over the next couple of days, we're going to play tomorrow night. After that, I'll let you know what happened. And once I get these guys put together and I get my entire force put together and I got the army lists set aside, what I'll do is I'll put each individual army on the table, and then I'll show you kind of like, this is the 82nd, this is the 101st, this, and so you get to see what we're taking to the convention. But there's a lot of figures that I'm going to be leaving on the shelf here that I'm not going to be taking with me, but we will be using, like the partisans, but we will be using during our Market Garden campaign. Because like over there, I've got a panther and I've got a tiger. I'm I'm not finishing, the tiger's almost finished, but I'm not finishing the panther because I'm not taking it with me to the convention. I got a few additional bridges. I already have those. I got the glider. I've got some para-drop canisters. Okay. Something you don't know, you might or might not know. I got the Captain Winters special figure. I've got that. And I've got the Lieutenant Spears special figure. Even though Lieutenant Spears is not in the battle, it was Easy Company and not Dog Company, and Spears was in Dog Company. Yeah, I think he was still in Dog Company at Market Garden. I don't think he moved over to Easy Company until Bastogne, I think. But either way, he's not in the battle. And then the British, I've got a few special characters I'm going to throw in there, but they're not going to be the special characters. They're just going to be figures on the table. The Germans, I don't really have any special characters. I just got the basic guys. But I got a lot of more American paratroopers. I don't know if I mentioned that either. I have enough paratroopers. I've got D-Day paratroopers that I've painted, and I've got late war paratroopers I painted, and I'm going to use them on separate tables. One's going to be the 101st, one's going to be the 82nd. So that's one way to differentiate them. But I also thought about mixing them. Whoa, I'm banging this up. I thought about, and this is probably what I'm going to do, but I'm not sure yet. I think about mixing them, D-Day paratroopers, which wear brown, and then the late war paratroopers, which wear green. So I was thinking I was going to maybe make a squad out of D-Day paratroopers and a squad out of late war paratroopers and put them on the same table. So the players that are playing on that table know which one is theirs. But after playing, I've noticed it doesn't really matter because your squads are always an inch apart from somebody else's squad. So you always know who's in your own squad. So, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it might make it easier. I don't know. So it might get mixed up a little bit. Okay, and that's basically it. I just wanted to keep you up to date on what's going on. Expect another video in the next few days after we play, probably Friday actually. I'll probably make a video letting you know all the forces we've got, give you like a little after-action review of the Arnhem game as well. But let me give you an after-action review of the 82nd battle before I close this video out. Let's start by saying it went really well. And what we did was I took a very small die. It's probably about a 10 millimeter. I don't even think it's 12 millimeter. I think it's a 10 millimeter die. It's smaller than my 12 millimeter dice. The normal bolt action die, just for reference, the normal bolt action die is a 16 millimeter die. I usually roll 12 millimeter dice and all my games and everything. I'm looking on my shelf. I don't see any dice cases over there, but they come in like these 12 millimeter dice. You can get them from Texas in these little bricks of like 32 dice in a little brick about this big. But this one was smaller. I don't know where it came from. I got 6 of them. It came out of a bag of something. Might have been Blood Red Skies. No, those are big too. Okay, well, I don't know where I got it, but it's a small die, right? And so what we did was stood in the corner, which is probably only about 6 feet away from the table, right? And then we took the die and we said, okay, this is for the anti-tank gun. We tossed it onto the table. Boom, wherever it landed, that's where the anti-tank gun went. And then we go, okay, this is for this rifle squad. Boop, 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 boop. That's where it landed. And we threw another die. Boop, 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 boop. That's where it landed. That worked great because you're not so far away from the table that you can't kind of guide it in a little bit, but it doesn't go exactly where you want it. I was trying to get a squad on the other side of the river. I know that's cheap, right? And I threw it, and it hit the table and bounced off the table. The die rolling, I think it's combat jump. The combat jump um, rules say that if it goes off the table, you just throw again the next turn, right? I don't know if I want to do that or if I want to say whatever I'll have to watch, and whatever side of the table it bounces off of is maybe the side of the table that they can come in on turn two. It's like it deliberately, they landed off the table and they've got to maneuver onto the table. I think that's what we're going to do. That way they can't like, okay, and then see now where the Germans are at and say, okay, not, like deliberately bounce it off the table so they get to come in on turn two, wherever they want, because then they can like, because I said, okay, well, let me, boom, and I just hit the building, bam, and it bounced off the building and stayed on the table on that side of the river. Another die landed in the river, right? So we got to figure out rules for that, because I at that point I said, okay, let's just take this die and just throw it again next turn. But I think what I want to do is maybe roll off to see if they land on the left or right side of the river, and unless it's obvious, like if it's on one side of the river or the other, that's the side they'll be placed against. But if it's like dead center, then I roll off to see what side they are on, and then and then give them all like a D3 pins or something, like they landed in the water and they had to swim or something. I don't know. Put them on a down order, or something like that with a bunch of pins, so they don't get to act. I think that's what we're gonna do. Normally, though, whenever they land, I just give them a pin and let them act, if they can make their leadership role, of course. Okay, and then. But we had a bunch of guys, the anti-tank gun, the Jeep, everything landed on the table. Then the Germans all had they had a couple of inexperienced units in the town, which basically I said they can't act on turn one. Okay, so that was good. So the paratroopers got to attack them limitedly, because they were still scattered about. But one of my squads, because I was deliberately shooting for the far side of the river, one of my squads made it over there, and they just close assaulted them and wiped them out. But they didn't get the second squad because it was across the road, and James' squad with his across the river just fired on them and wiped them out. But okay, so we captured the near side of the river like by turn two or something like that. It was pretty quick. The Germans were coming in from the other end of the table. We're playing lengthwise. They were coming in from the other end. They were allowed to enter with half their troops on turn two, and they could have entered with everything on turn two if they wanted, but up to half their guys were allowed to flank. Right, we're doing flanking left and right. They just had to notate at the beginning of the game if they were flanking down the left side or the right side, and then they could, like, every turn they got to move a foot in until they decided to come onto the table. Well, the tank kept failing his leadership role, so he couldn't come onto the table forever. That was a bummer for the Germans, but they were coming on in force with their Fallschirmjägers, and they pretty much wiped out my first squad. I countercharged with one of my squads, but it was fair. It was like the Fallschirmjägers and the paratroopers were on par with each other, and they just wiped each other out. Basically, he had 3 guys left at the end and still passed his morale. But I was completely wiped. And then the anti-tank gun fired a couple of times on the tank, didn't really do anything. He came on the side with a flamethrower. I ran a lieutenant and a guy over to the flamethrower and just shot him up with their submachine guns. And then for somehow he brought in a bunch of squads to the flank of the anti-tank gun, but he couldn't take it out. And then he brought his commander, which was a captain. He brought him into the field with the anti-tank gun, and so he was prepared to control that entire section of the battlefield with his 12-inch command radius. So my lieutenant that just killed the flamethrower just ran across the field and close assaulted him and lost. There was 2 guys, him and his like attendant, went up against this one captain and lost. Okay, it happens. So he wiped out our lieutenant, but we had a major running around. He really didn't do much. I had a bazooka man shooting at, didn't really get a chance to do any shooting, really. He was shot at by a squad, he was shot at by a sniper, shot at by a captain, he was shot at by a lot of stuff. He had like 4 or 5 pins on him. And when he went to shoot, that's -5. You know, so he's not hitting anything. He missed. But they didn't kill him. They only put pins on him. And that was pretty cool because I kept going down. You know, I said, okay, you're going to shoot at me? I'm going to go down. And so they needed 7s or 8s or something like that to hit him. I had a mortar. There was no place to put the mortar to be effective. The mortar that's another reason why I wanted to take it out of the game, because in that scenario, the mortar was just a piece I had to move around that didn't do anything. We had a medium machine gun. They didn't have one. They had a bunch of light machine guns. Like each squad had like 2 light machine guns. So they were like 14 dice or even more than that. I don't remember what they had, but it was a bunch of dice that there were 18 dice, something high. They had a lot of dice they were throwing, firepower. But we were holding our ground, and then my squad that was on the far side of the river, and then James's squad that I killed one, he killed the other. Our 2 squads started moving up the table towards the Fallschirmjägers just to basically keep them from maneuvering down the river, because the objective was at the end of turn 8 to have somebody on both sides of the river. And so we did. They didn't, but it was only turn 6. And even if they had 2 more turns if we were completely wiped out and they had 2 more turns, they wouldn't have been able to make it to the other side of the river. They were just too far away. So we want to adjust like what kind of troops are in that battle so that maybe it'll be fair for both sides. All right. So that was that battle. And in, tomorrow, we're going to play the last Arnhem Bridge battle, and then I'll be able to give you feedback and show you what the army lists look like and finish painting on these guys. All right, guys. Catch you next time.